It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's our favorite day. It's our
Oh, it's
favorite.
our favorite day.
It's our favorite day. It's our
It's
favorite day.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's our favorite day. It's
Ow.
our favorite day. Pow.
Hey.
Pow. Now I feel
Thank
like I'm
you
one of
guys.
them. Oh, never mind.
Right. Showing everybody our age. Welcome, guys. It's a Tuesday, amazing Tuesday at the Connected Corner. I'm your girl, Tori Rose, the Connector, and I'm always so happy to join you guys with.
Kiana B. Jones.
Hey, girl, how's it going?
It is going great. I don't know why I always why I sing my words. I
It
just be so
is
excited to be here on Tuesday.
great. You know what? Me
And
too.
I always got
Because
a tune in my
somebody didn't
head.
make it. Somebody didn't make it, right? So we have
Yes.
to be grateful that we made it. And what harm is it to sing, even if it's singing off key? It's
Right.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. So today we are excited to bring you guys an amazing, powerful woman. We're going to jump into what our show is about in a second. We want to just acknowledge some of the previous guests we've had on. As you guys know, this is March. It's Women's History Month. And last week, we got to speak to the first Hispanic councilwoman to ever be elected by the people of
Yeah.
Baltimore City, Miss Odette Ramos. And she was just amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
It was
Yes.
absolutely amazing. There were so many different things about Odette that I learned, even with her coming from, a great grandmother who had advocated for women's rights and women's right to vote in Puerto Rico. Something I
Yes.
didn't.
Yes. Yeah. And she also taught us the difference of using Latino, Latina. So we learned some language as well there. We got a lot of good resources, a lot of good
Yes.
information from her, and
Yes.
just hearing about the things that she's doing and learning in her new position as a councilwoman for Baltimore
Yes.
City.
District 14. So anybody who's over in Hampton, all the way from Hampton to 33rd and Green Mountain, Waverly, she had all those neighborhoods. So guys, if you missed the show last week, you missed something very important. Make sure you check us out at youtube.com. Go to YouTube in the search bar, hit the Connected Corner, and make sure you subscribe, smash and like.
Hit the button. Well, I'm gonna tell you who didn't miss us last week. You know what I got today? A text message from Fashion Over. Like literally an hour before the show. And the first thing I thought was, did they hear us talking about them the last show? About
Right.
the Fashion Over text message? Like, and did you get the one? Like they must have known we were from Baltimore because mine said it's the STEMI for me. Like, really, Fashion Over? The text message said it's the STEMI for me. And go ahead and get this 80% off, which is what I said in my message. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, they listening. Hey, listening. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
we listen.
only great marketing, somebody in their HR is tapped in to Big Brother. Got Big Brother on speed dial, said, wait a minute, Kiana B. Jones said she needed what? 80% off? Oh,
Right,
okay, no worries. We got a stimmy. Give me the
right.
stimmy.
They
Right.
try to get my
Oh,
STEMI. They
wow.
literally sent me a message. They said it's a STEMI for me, 80% off. And that's what I asked for last week, 80% off. But anyway,
Wow.
like, so
Well,
Fashion Nova is watching us, y'all. They
hey,
listening.
it's their favorite show. It's their favorite show. Well, we are excited about that. And we are going to be talking to an amazing woman today who is definitely headed in the right direction. She is headed to making additional women's history. She's been making history since I've known her. And I know you've known her even longer than I have. Before we bring on our amazing guest, do we want to give a shout out to our partners and sponsors?
Yes, we do. We want to give a shout out to Nicotine Media, our partner, our studio, Nicotine Media, who is doing great things. They'll be having a grand opening soon of the new studio. Also, we want to give a shout out to Radio on Fire, Diamond K, and WMEG Radio. And I want to shout out Wide Angle Youth Media. So I'm on the board for Wide Angle. And tonight I'll be using these lovely little cards that was made
Hmm.
by some of the Wide Angle apprentices and students that we got as a gift. So we know like now, like our show is virtual Zoom meetings and all of those things. So they gave these out to board members and staff and donors. So I'm going to put these up tonight. I'm going to tell you I
I
love
love
it.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. And so what that says to me is not only are they always looking for ways to engage and connect, but they also are remaining 508 compliant. And so some of the work, I talk sometimes about my federal government life, and some of the work that I did there was about 508 compliance. And a lot of times when we are on platforms like this, where we assume all of our listeners are able to hear or able to see and there's no impairments, sometimes we miss our audience because we don't have those additional things that would help bring people along. And so if I'm saying, hey guys, we're on a virtual Zoom, throw your thumbs up, show me that you love it, that may not translate to someone who has an impairment. But if I have a love it card and I could hold my love it card up, that's a sign that anyone who is not visually impaired could participate in. So that's amazing. Shout out to Wide Angle Youth Media. We love them. They are always headed in the right direction.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love it.
I want to go back a step for WMEG and give a shout out to DJ Rock Nice and to our Dove sister, Nicole Moulton, who actually honored me for Women's History Month last Saturday. On Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., Nicole has a live podcast, live radio, and she also airs on Facebook, and she's on WMEG, and she brings forth some extremely interesting topics about health and how to stay physically well. And so we got to meet Nicole a couple of years ago before we realized that she had gone to Western, and talk about like the food deserts and health disparities, especially in Black and Brown communities. And she actually got to, honor me on Saturday. So thank you, sis. Thank you to our brother and sister over there. And I got something that you're going to like, Kiana, because you like what I like in this regard. Rock said he wants to have all of the women come together and figure out a date and time when we can meet, post-COVID. And he's going to treat us to a platter and a drink.
Crab cake platter?
Crab cake platter. Honey Jack, honey. I said, oh, okay. I try to refrain, but if you're going to pay for it, I might have to think about it.
Right.
So shout out to WMEG.
I definitely love that.
Love it. Shout out to WMEG Radio, DJ Rock Nice, and I'm Nicole Moulton. And if anyone's watching our show, check them out Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. You can also go to www.wmegradio.com. You can also download their app and you can listen live. And they have different programs, and you can catch us on the replay over there as well. So without further ado, I think we're buckled in. I think we're ready to talk about this amazing young lady who is headed in the right direction. She's amazing. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about who she is. She is the amazing Hennifer Gant. She is a human resource expert. She's a business owner and first generation of Sierra Leone. Well, Sierra Leonean descent. I had to get it politically correct. With more than 15 years of experience in private, nonprofit, and government sectors as an HR leader, Henny, how we call her, because she is our sister, is often the go-to person for providing diversity strategy, employment compliance, and workforce planning through her company, Career Image Solutions. Her firm also counsels mid-career professionals that are transitioning into their dream jobs. Guys, put your virtual hands together and let's welcome our amazing sister, Henny B. Gant.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, honey.
Wait a minute. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Yes.
See, y'all didn't know I was watching.
We're gonna drop a verse for that. So it's Tuesday, it's Tuesday, it's Tuesday. It's our favorite day. Hey, it's our favorite day.
Okay.
So far that's all we got. Okay. You can help us.
And Henny can actually sing. Yeah. She carry a little bit better tone than we do, but she can help us out.
The teacher in me always loves a good song. The teacher in me is always making up something. You just give me a word, I got you.
Listen, and I have this amazing little one in my house who turned 11 months today. So shout out to Princess Ryan. I find
Oh,
myself thinking about everything.
yep,
It's time to wash your face. It's time to say your
yep,
grace.
yep.
It's time to make some space. It's time to clean up this place. You understand, honey? So, anyway, welcome to the show. We are the
Yeah.
Connected Corner, and we want to hear all about what you do, who you are. We know that there are listeners and viewers who may be out of a job because of COVID, may be transitioning jobs, may have a small business that is struggling. There's so much that we're going to get from you today. So we do not want to belabor that time. Tell us a little bit about Career Image Solutions.
Yes.
Why the business? Why that name?
Yes. Oh, why the name? Oh, you taking me back. Okay. Believe it or not, the name Career Image came in a dream. I literally it was a dream. And I got the name Career Image. I knew that there was going to be some type of firm, but Career Image came out of a dream. And then I spoke with one of my girlfriends in Florida, and I was like, I need another something. And she's like, you always talking about being a solution. So why don't you call it Solutions? So that's how the name came about. Truly, it came out of a need. I was working in HR, and we were recruiting for so many different positions. And what I recognized is that there were so many different positions, but we had more people than positions, right? And the individuals that looked like me didn't necessarily have the right resume. They didn't necessarily interview the right way. So it just really became a burning desire in me to just go out and help. So I started helping people on the side, and lo and behold, people started getting interviews, not even with me. And it just grew into what it is now. So now not only do we assist professionals in attaining the careers of their dreams, but we also specialize in keeping companies out of the courtroom, and in compliance with everything you can think of in HR, diversity and inclusion, HR outsourcing, you name it. We are now this full service firm. So to God be the glory. I don't know. I didn't even think that it would be where it is today. So that's a little back history of it.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
Yeah.
Kiana, I didn't want to steal you look like you was about to ask a question. Are you about to ask a question?
No, I wasn't going to, ask a question yet. I was just going to just, piggyback on, what Helen is talking about, and, just the name of like, I absolutely love the name of your business. Again, it's that solution for people, and even using, such a word, you're already letting people know that, I can help you with solutions for your career, and what that looks like. So not only do you guys help individuals, we know that you also help, small businesses as well. And so just kind of thinking about like where we are right now, what's happening in the world with COVID. I just want to like go dive right into that part and how things have changed. So, we can end with the really fun things. But, it's something that it's just the time that we in that we got to talk about. And so we know that, absolutely there are some things, that have changed. I'm sure in the HR world, I'm sure there are businesses, small businesses, as well as individuals that are affected. So what are some of the ways that COVID has changed, HR business, not just for individuals, but for those small businesses that you serve? And then tell us who you serve, because you have a specialty in who you help.
Yeah. So absolutely, it's a great question, because so many, even the job seekers or the professionals, don't necessarily know the impact that companies have to face, right? So we serve companies that don't necessarily have HR, or they might have HR, but their HR, they're just burnt out. Or their HR just needs some additional support in whatever aspect, right? So whether it's hiring, onboarding, or trying to figure out how to get rid of somebody, can we tell the truth, somebody, right? So we have just a number of those things. Again, everything compliant. So with the times that we are in COVID, I would say one of the interesting dynamics that we are seeing is that there are some industries that are facing really big challenges as it relates to finding really great talent. Now you might be saying like, what in the world? Like, why would, aren't all I hear on the news is that all of these people are unemployed. And here's the deal, because unemployment is super good and cushiony right now, there are individuals that are like, you know what? I've been waiting for a break all my life. All my life I had to fight. No, but they've been waiting for a big break to go ahead and just kind of relax. And so they're like, hey, listen, I'm making a little bit more money off of unemployment. So I'm just going to go ahead and coast this out a little bit longer until I need to. Right. So that's definitely one of the things that I've seen. Another area is that there are companies that are just clueless as to what to do when there is an employee that has COVID. If you've seen in our government, a lot of discussion, it has been surrounded about, prevention, staying 6 feet apart. But if you see, there's little to no communication about what happens when an employee does, unfortunately, go ahead and get COVID, right? Or what happens when there is an outbreak, or nobody really talks about that. And then companies are, especially my small business owners, oh my gosh, you have to rely on CDC. And if you've been following CDC, I'm an HR geek, so you know that if you watch CDC this time last year, you have to check it every week because the guidelines were always changing. And then the third thing I would say that's been a really big aha moment, especially for companies that has there's been a big difference between essential versus non-essential. Like I know for me, it's made a big difference. I never thought to think of companies as essential versus non-essential. COVID has really made us open our eyes, because you all know if the numbers were to increase again, what are those industries that will automatically shut down? We're talking about the malls. We're talking about retail. We're talking about those public establishments. So I never in a million years would have thought, oh, I don't want to just work with this industry, but I also need to break it down between non-essential and essential. So companies have really been looking at who are our essential and non-essential staff in the event COVID makes another uprising and we have to let some people go.
Oh, that's awesome. And you've said a lot. I want to acknowledge your honey and our brother, Reggie. So thank you so much. Whoop, whoop, Mr. Gann, for being here. We saw Carly is on with us. Thank you, Carly, for always being consistently a good sister and a watcher. And Miss Vashta said you guys were amazing for them. So we want to give them a shout out. Guys, if you're watching this, please hit the share button on your Facebook or YouTube, whatever it is that you're watching it on. We want to make sure everybody gets access to this amazing information. Also, I think about when it comes down to HR, the thought of HR is almost like this illusion at times for people, this big scary concept, almost like going to the principal's office, right? How many of us have to go to HR, not understanding that human resources in itself is that it's a resource to entrepreneurs, small business owners and businesses. Thank you, Mr. Gann, because that was easy. I read it right off the thing. Career Image Solutions has been a go-to. And so any business owner who may have a question, we'll be sure to drop Henitha's company's information right here in this broadcast, so you can get connected and you can ask your questions to the professional. Henny, I love that you talked about not only essential and non-essential employees, but you're pointing out specifically essential and non-essential businesses. And COVID, as you said, has helped us see that maybe the AMC movie theater is not as essential as we thought, or maybe, certain things luxuries that we like, the nail salons, the hair salons, and things like that are not a necessity for everyday survival, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm a Black woman. I'm going to figure out if they got to come to me. Okay. We got to Lysol ourselves down. We're going to figure out how to do the things that I need to do to be mentally well. But your point is now we have an opportunity as small business owners, as maybe people in a nonprofit who are looking to provide a service, to even peel back a layer and say, there are other pockets of people who may need our help. I want to share this really quickly with you guys. Something you said reminded me of I had an interview with a company for 2-3 weeks ago. And somebody gonna say, oh, she leaving her job. Mind your business. It is important to always
be interviewing.
Always be interviewing, because interviewing is a skill. And so for someone who may have had job security throughout this COVID process, this COVID situation, pandemic, start interviewing if you haven't interviewed in the last 6 months, a year, 2 years, because it's a skill and you have to stay sharpened on it. So anyway, the question that the interviewer asked was about human capital management. And that's one of those terms. Again, we throw these terms around the work world. So human, we know we are human. The human capital is what the person brings, right? It's the individual, the equity of having employees in your company, and then how those things are managed. And they wanted me to give, I guess, my own sentence about what human capital management meant for me.
Mm.
And so for me, it means not only putting the right people in the right position, but making sure that the position is detailed in a way that the people can be successful in that position. When you hear the words human capital management, what does it mean to you?
You know, I make fun of our industry often because we try to change up the titles all the time. And no matter how much you want to say human capital, people are always still gonna be like, HR? Now it's director of people services. Anyway, let me answer your question. But human capital management to me is really just the entire stock. You know, those of you that are familiar with stocks, I know you had Jeff Shepard on here talking about finances. But the entire stock of your company, right? So it's not just the employees, it's the benefits that you are also offering, and figuring out how there can be a rate of return on your investment. So hiring someone is an investment. So the work that they do should be the rate of return, right? And then
I'm
also have a rate of return.
Take your notes. Y'all hear this? Take y'all notes. Take y'all notes.
So it's also the ROI. It's the return.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I see it as. And now, you know, one of the things I love being in, you know, just kind of being on my own, to be quite honest, and being able to strategize with multiple clients is that there's no lid on my creativity and how I can offer up solutions and saying, hey, you know what? I know that that's your budget, but have you considered this? To make sure that it's the win-win for the employee as well. I know that employee isn't doing well, but have we given that employee all of ourselves? Have we really invested in them? So all of that, again, ties into human capital for sure.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I wrote the answer down. They like my answer, but I'm writing your answer down because you're the professional. So if I'm asked again, I'm going to add your flair on top of my flair. Boom.
Okay. You can interview coaching. We do that too. So go ahead and let me know if you need to do some mock sessions.
Listen, it is important. So Kiana, if I can ask you, when was the last time you had an interview, if you feel comfortable in sharing? And what do you think your focus or your perception of HR is?
The last time, it wasn't for a job, but it was for a board position.
Okay.
So no, you know what? No, it wasn't for a board position. It was for a leadership development program that I'm a part of now, Leadership Baltimore County. So that was my last interview. And I was even telling my husband, I'm like, man, I'm a little nervous. I always get nervous though, whenever I have to talk, but it was refreshing. And I mean, you couldn't have hit it on the nail even more. Like, please always interview. It doesn't even have to be formal. You don't always have to pay for it, but just tap into somebody that you respect that has interviewing experience. It really does help. But yeah, so that was my last time. And that was back in, I want to say last August, but I'm always interviewing other people and doing interview coaching. So it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic.
I love that you are also willing to be on the other side of the table. That's amazing. Kiana, how about you? When was the last time you interviewed, and what do you think about HR?
So the last time I interviewed, I was interviewing around November, December of 2020. So for those who don't know, I just entered back into, I call it the 9 to 5 full-time employment. We're gonna see how long, but anyway, my new employer is not listening, but you two know I have a shelf life, right, for being an employee. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that. But for me, HR, I know it's supposed to be seen in the light when you're talking about companies for the employee, but I believe, and in my experience, for the most part, the HR department for companies see themselves as the ally to the employer as opposed to the employee. What I believe and how I view they should operate is the mediator between the two. And so you want to make sure that the employees are, as I say, vested in, taken care of, have the things that they need to make sure they have the morale to do the job, but then also look at ways to, cut costs and make it beneficial for the employer as well. And so I think it should be that, that advisor and kind of like that go between and the mediator between the employer and the employee with the best interests of both, not one side.
I love that you said that. And let me just say this, because I know you all touch, a myriad of people. The reality is it depends on the company, because HR at the end of the day is being paid by the company, not the employee. Bottom line, right? So again, there are some companies that are progressive enough that are like, hey, we want to make sure that, we're all about employees, and it's quite interesting. So I'm also a member of the National Association for African Americans and Human Resources. Whoop, whoop. And one of the things that most of us, when we come into the profession, we step into it because we want to help people. And then what we quickly find out is that you have these people at the top trying to tell you is about that person equates to X amount of dollars. So being in a consultant role, it allows you to play kind of both sides per se, because it's like, hey, yes, I know that you're concerned with the dollars, but what about the person? I always say, put people over profits and you'll make the most profit. That's my standard, but I must admit, when I was working for an employer, I was not able to necessarily influence people over profits quite often. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
That's really good. And we're going to talk a little bit about the organizations that you're a part of. For any small business owner who's listening and they are just getting started, maybe even were able to catch a lifeline from the SBA with some of the COVID relief that has come into small businesses. And they say, do I need HR? I am my own HR. How do I know if I need to hire or outsource? What's the measurement and what advice would you give them?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. First of all, if you use your PPP and you still haven't filed your taxes and you had staff, I'm not even going to get to the accountant stuff because I'm not an accountant, right? But I hope that you designated those hours that your employee was off for COVID related matters. I'll leave that alone though. I'm just saying, make sure you get your stuff in order. But no, that's a great example of why you need HR, right? Because it burns me up, and I'm a little biased because I am the HR girl, but I mean, it burns me up when I go to, business functions and, how to start a business. They talk to you about sales and marketing and finance. I'm like, so does anybody plan on growing? Because if you plan on growing and you plan on not being a solopreneur for the rest of your life, you need HR. So for small business owners, especially those that you're like, oh, I don't have any employees yet, I don't have any staff yet. When you get to the point that you're ready to hire, I don't care if it's an intern, I don't care if it's an independent contractor, I don't care if it's a volunteer. This even applies to nonprofits. As soon as you are getting ready, before you get ready to hire an additional staff member, you need to be having a conversation with an HR consultant. You have to be having that type of conversation because there's so many things that go into place. For example, am I hiring correctly? Believe it or not, if you talk to, unfortunately, most times small businesses, they call Career Image Solutions after they've already made a mistake. But if you really just have us to be part of the conversation before you make a decision, we can actually save you a whole lot of money. Because what happens is they'll go like, oh my gosh, I spent all this money on Indeed to find a person. And then what happens is that we'll end up talking to the business owner, come to find out they don't even have a job description.
Yep.
They posted the job description instead of a job posting. They don't even know the salary range. They posted the position for a contractor. They say that's part-time, but they having people work 41 hours. They forget about the FLSA overtime laws. It's just so many different things. And the heart of the heart as to why I get so passionate about it, if you can tell, is because I know that businesses are people's babies. Yeah. Right? When you have a vision on the inside of you, when you know that you are called to birth a business, I know a lot of people out here doing it for the trend, they doing it for the gram, but like for real, when you are called to business, you eat business. You wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, and it burns me up to think that you are one lawsuit away or one fine away of losing what you have built just because you didn't know about the employment compliance, but because you were just worried about getting the coins. So
that's good. That's good. 2 snaps and claps on that. We love it. Putting people over profits and you'll make more profits. That needs to be a t-shirt. Can we make it like an acronym or something?
I love it.
Make it pop. People over profit. POP.
I love, you know what? You always been a wordsmith.
Honey, I understand what God gave me.
I don't know why I'm literally over here. I'm doing the 2-step if y'all can't see me.
You know how to make it pop. And so I love what you said. You made some very, very good points. I think that you are exactly right that too many of us jump into like the business mode. I need to have a business. I'm going to be a small business owner. And then they get burnt out being solopreneurs for the rest of their lives because they don't have a blueprint on how to grow, how to delegate. I thank you personally. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but in 2019, after I left the federal government, I had this stint as this interim director. And I
forgot all about that.
I called Penny because it was such a newly formed organization. They wanted me there for training, and it was rooted in the things that is important to me, homelessness and mental health. And they were hiring people, trying to have a 1099 contracting relationship.
I remember that. Yeah.
Hiring on a W-2. They needed.
I was also having a fit, right?
And so when they, I started hearing some of the things, and again, I've worked in HR, I've worked more in training, and so it's like, but still, I know this isn't right, and as a small business owner, this doesn't make sense. And so I came to Henitha. And so why am I sharing the story? I'm sharing the story to say that anyone listening, if there's something you say, well, I'm not a business owner, I work for somebody else, or I'm about to get hired. If something doesn't feel right and something doesn't jive with your juju all the way, reach out and get the clarity. And so one of my tasks as a new director, right, walking in all excited, my little office, is to create this handbook for my staff and newly hired employees. And I find out through our conversation that a lot of illegalities would have happened, and I would have infringed upon people's rights, right? If I had continued in the vein that we were thinking to go in, because we didn't have a certified HR professional. And so I'm throwing that out to say for anyone, who may be transitioning work, anyone who may be going back to work, if something doesn't feel right, reach out, go call Henny. Don't call her Henny. We get to call her Henny. I kid. But thank you for that, Henitha. And is that something that you hear a lot with people wanting to be contractors, 1099, W-2s, W-4s? Are those the types of questions that people bring to you a lot?
All the time. Because people hear about it. But it's like, yeah, and it cracks me up. And I know my accounting friends will crack up at this too, because they were like, yeah, I'm just trying to get me a 1099. So then when I'm calling the real name, independent contractor, I'm like, what's that? I'm like, no, 1099 is a tax form. We're not going to call people by tax forms. That's not what we're going to do. We're not going to call them by tax forms. I'm just trying I'm not trying to hire no W-2s. It's like, and let me tell you, it's so interesting because it's really a growth mindset, right? Because I used to think the same thing. Now having my own company, right? So it's like, having to hire people and number one, know the difference between the two and know where you are. Again, this is why you need to have some strategy, before you do it. But
Mhm.
if you really do see the vision for your company to grow beyond you, where it could be a legacy even for your children's children,
Mhm.
perhaps,
Mhm.
what I would recommend is that you look at W-2s and 1099s differently, right? Because when you hire an employee, you actually are hiring an ambassador for the company.
Mhm.
When you're hiring an employee, it allows that person to have a little bit more buy-in, to be more vested. Not that an independent contractor or a 1099 can't be vested, but it just, usually consultants or 1099s per se, they have other gigs going on, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they'll be assisting you, but they have everything else happening. So look at it a little differently. Again, for those that are called, again, I'm big about that. If you're called to business, you know that this is part of the vision, and you know like, hey, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this by myself. Start looking at it a little differently. I think you might find that the financial gain long term would be worth it, versus in trying to skip out on some dollars hiring a 1099.
Yeah. I think
Very,
from
very
the accounting perspective, and as you know, sometimes people understanding, working hand in hand and having those conversations is that people feel like hiring a contractor or quote hiring a 1099 person. One, it's the hiring people under the table, so to speak, as we say. But they really don't realize the detriment to that for their business if that is not truly what that position is.
Yes.
And so, I've had even with some of my, tax clients and having to explain the difference, or when they are contracted and they receive a 1099, they have no clue as to what that is. And I say, well,
Yes.
you now have to file a Schedule C. This makes you now a sole proprietor. This was something that you was doing as a contractor, as a business, and then you have more than one. Then they're confused about why they owe, why no taxes were taken out. And so it really is just about the education and educating people, first educating the small business owners, because they need to be armed with that information to understand who they should hire and why they should hire them. And so some of it is just not being prepared to handle the payroll taxes and all the other things. They feel like they're skipping around something by hiring people in 1099 so they don't have to deal with it. But I myself have gone through that and constantly explaining to someone that I am your contractor. I am not your employee.
Yep.
This is a choice. I do not want to be an employee as to why I am contracting. And the service that I provide you is a contracting service. I gave you a contract. These things that I'm providing to you is, first of all, you don't have any employees. And this is something, that I'm doing contractually on my hours when I do schedule you in. And so, trying to literally have these conversations, because it is about a growth mindset with some of these nonprofit owners, executive directors,
Yep.
founders of nonprofits, as well as businesses, to say, you need to hire a person. You can't keep hiring consultants and contractors for your nonprofit and then want to treat them as an employee. It doesn't work that way. And so, really trying to build the capacity. And I'm sure even for yourself with small businesses, can be challenging
Yep.
because people do have to have a paradigm shift in their thinking, and they do need to settle in a growth mindset for their business and not just have something to have it, as you say, for the gram. Because some people just starting stuff and like to post and say, I have this and I'm doing this. And we know behind the scenes is raggedy. So, let's get it in order, moving forward in 2021, people, get our businesses and our affairs in order.
And I'm going to throw that out there because we can speak from experience. We're not speaking
Yeah.
from judgment. We're speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Every woman that you see right here has built a little faster than they thought, has gone a little wider than they expected, who has had to even slow our own businesses to say, whoa, wait a minute, it's going to be quality over quantity, right? And so somebody might have said, ooh, ouch. No, Kiana's coming from a place of over 20 plus years in entrepreneurship and working. And she was doing 9 to 5 and 5 to 9s, like most of us. And so we're coming from a place of experience. But I got a text message. I'm going to read it to you. It says, ignore that part. this part is relevant. It says, "Hey girl." um, so basically, this person has a business and is interested in knowing when she pays herself, does she have to pay herself as an employee? Does she need to pay herself directly? Like, is there like an employee number? Does she need to put herself listed as an employee to pay herself?
I always, and this is why accountants are my best friend. That is a question you really want to speak with your accountant about. Whoever is, handling your business finances, your business accounting, that is where you want to go to first when it comes to that about paying yourself, because all of that has a lot to do with tax liability. Right. So that's my answer to that person, because there's so many questions that I know that an accountant would be asking. And after that point is when you should probably speak with me. But I will say that if you end up paying yourself as an employee, right, you still want to, it sounds like you're going in a growth direction. So you still want to go ahead and schedule yourself, some time to start thinking about, well, who is the next person that I need to hire? So many people hire especially solopreneurs, so many of us, that, like, man, I just need I need to duplicate myself. I need another me. But really, you don't need another you. What I find is that even those of us that are great in operations, that are great in systems, usually the very next person that we need to hire is somebody that's great in systems and operations that can kind of help put the pieces of the puzzle together. Usually that's the very next hire that you need to make. So even if your accountant does say, hey, yeah, start paying yourself, or even if your accountant says, don't pay yourself, I don't know. It sounds like because you are in that growth mindset, you might want to still have that conversation about who do I need to hire next? Let's go ahead and look at what your scope of work is, the things that you have going on. What can we delegate? What can we outsource and make that happen so you can continue to grow?
Awesome. Wonderful answer. And guys, please, let's not get in the habit of texting your sister girl. Drop your comments right here in the
yeah, right. I was like, wait a minute, you think you got a text?
Right. I love her, and I won't call her out right now, but that's an amazing answer. We want everybody to benefit from your questions, and I don't have to pick and choose what things are Facebook appropriate. So drop your comments or your questions right here, guys. If you're catching this on the replay, be sure to drop replay in the comments. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing to the Connected Corner, because we want to make sure that you get this news and its resources. And these are things you can actually use. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say, had that person drop their question in the comment section. I know that we have some accountants and those that are, watching that could also answer that. And so doing that and putting it there, this is also an opportunity for you guys to connect with other people and people to see what your needs are. Yeah. Also too, it's funny, like I get a lot of open-ended questions, or people like to ask you things. And my answer is you have to set up a consultation. So some things, we can give answers to, but just understand is universal. So whether or not to pay yourself, any structure of business that you have, whether it's a solopreneur, which is a sole proprietor, a S corp, corporate, whatever that is, you can pay yourself. It looks differently depending on your business structure. So how you pay yourself is different based on your business structure. And this is the accountant in the building speaking. Okay. All right, y'all.
Okay. I'm like, girl, pay yourself first. No, I'm sorry, pay God, then yourself, then your employees. That's
That's right.
So for those who don't know, so people know where they're getting your information. So yeah, I'm not just, saying it, I'm speaking to you guys, but it depends on your business structure. And so definitely, if you are asking that question, you're headed in the right direction. Yes. You're asking the right question. And if you don't have, a professional accountant or someone, definitely, send us a message to the Connected Corner, and we can get you connected to someone to help you continue to move in the right direction with your business. Because a lot of people are just not even there yet with asking that question. Yeah. They're co-mingling, even as sole owners or sole proprietors, and don't really understand the benefit of setting. You can still set and pay for yourself if you're a sole proprietor.
So don't pay God, pay yourself, and pay everybody else. It's not like your bills. Okay, my bad. So ignore
Well,
anything.
you will pay your tithes out of the money that you
Pay
pay
yourself.
yourself. Right,
Oh,
as
okay.
opposed to paying it all the way out of the business income, which it gets interesting because at times, we have a partnership, but we both are also sole owners of something. So a lot of times for me, I will say for those, believers and tithers listening and in the house tonight, that is something for myself I had to figure out at times, right? Especially because I have a business and, have now going back to work. It's like, well, what portion do I pay? Am I paying the tithes on the part of the income I'm paying myself, as a sole owner? And so I do. I literally send myself payments that say payment to CEO for my sole price. So that is the portion. When it goes into that other account, it is now my personal income. And that's what I tithe off as opposed to, because, the rest goes to the business and the business expense.
Awesome. Look at that. That you better get them news and resources. So, Hannah, the worst case scenario. You get hired. I'm trying to make it so that nobody thinks we're directly talking about them. Any industry, I feel like you've probably worked.
You say how you can say, I'm looking past you. I'm not looking at you. Just
I'm not
look
looking at
straight.
you. Right.
Just look straight.
Right. If your ears are burning, that's because they're dirty. Let's say you walk into a circus. You get hired to do HR work for a circus. And you realize that they have employees who are from other states, other countries. They have employees who are very young, maybe let's say 16, 17, 18. They are employees who are more mature, 65, 66, 67. They don't have an electronic system. Everything's in paper.
Child.
There's disgruntled people on payday knocking down the door. 3 of the clowns just quit. An elephant's running loose. Nobody's fed the ostriches. What do you do? What's the first thing? What do you do?
I thrive in environments like that, by the way. I know it's weird. Yeah, I just, give me a mess. I'm like, let's get it together. But the first thing that I do is I pull together everyone that is a decision maker. That's the first thing that I do. I don't even go trying to talk to everybody. I just pull them in and we having a whole come to Jesus. How do we get here? How did we get here? My husband is like the bomb in marketing. Anybody looking for a marketer? I just saw his comment that posted up. But I'm pulling everyone in to see how did we get here and what are the biggest pain points right now. Because although I'm seeing that the ostriches haven't, is that how you say it? Is that the plural for ostrich? Okay, we'll go with it. So if we see that, and I see all of these things happening, just because they are my red flags don't mean that it's the red flag. So I'm always trying to figure out what is the biggest thing. Did you just get audited yesterday? Did anybody come down and, ask for your books? You don't have any I-9s filled out? Wait a minute. So you paying everybody under the table? So I want to make sure that we're taking care of those things first before everything else, right? So, but that's the very first thing that I do, especially in what may seem like chaos.
I love it. And your husband not only is he a good marketer, he's a prophet, because this question was actually going to lead into equity versus equality in the workplace. So we can tie it all together. Thank you, prophet, sir. Don't send me your cash app because I ain't seen. No. So given that example, now we have all of the decision makers at the table. You're, like you said, what your red flags are may not be the company's red flags. What I'm hearing is career image solutions as the focus of what the company needs, not what Hannah needs or the Gantz needs.
Yeah.
And so now we have this first meeting. How do you all then address diversity, inclusion, and equity, and equity versus equality in the workplace?
Yeah. So for those organizations that need diversity, inclusion, well, I always say it's a journey, right? People like to lump those terms together, which annoys me. But diversity, then it's inclusion, then it's equity. It's really a journey. And usually those companies that are reaching out to us for those type of services, they already have HR, in some landscape where they're already thriving, to be quite honest, right? If you are paying attention to that. But what I would say is that when they do need those types of services, the very first thing that I like to do is ask for the last survey, maybe morale survey that they've done, hopefully, and to kind of look at some of the feedback that the employees may have gotten. Now, if they have never done some type of diversity assessment, any type of survey, then we want to make sure that we are just asking feedback, because many companies now, I mean, my goodness, I've been doing diversity and inclusion and equity work for years before it became a trend. But you know, rest in peace, George Floyd. But since George Floyd, I mean, when I tell you, our people are knocking on our doors, trying to get more information on what to do. Is it just training? How do we get the equity? And what I find though, Tori, is that most companies, yeah, we could talk about diversity, but remember, I said it's a journey. Most companies are not ready to talk about equity. We're not ready to talk about equity. I'm telling you, most companies are not ready to even go to the equity side. The inclusion side, maybe. But again, you still need a good full year, 2 years to see if what you think you're doing is effective. So many people think that just by having employee resource groups that's enough. It's not enough. You don't even know if it's working, right? So I just had a conversation with another company, and I told them straight up, I said, hey, listen, if you, they reached out because we are Black, right? We're a Black firm and everybody wants to do Black business. But I said, if you're looking to just check a box, I'm not your person. But if you're looking to transform mindsets and to really make a difference on behalf of your employees and your future staff, then we're your people, you know. So we'll see where that goes. But there's definitely a big difference. Equity, it's a mindset shift for equity.
Yes, well, certainly. Thank you for that.
So we have a question from Alvira Carly. Says, does human resources speak to companies when they see things that indicate practice of wage inequality?
Oh, yes. One of the audits that we do when we first get a new client, especially if they have enough employees, is we do kind of a compensation analysis and also like a gender equity analysis, right? So making sure that, number one, our men, you know, there's so many laws. I'm not going to bore you with that, but there are laws, right? Employment laws, like for real, that say that you're not supposed to pay men more than women for the same type of job, right? You want to make sure that you're not paying somebody more money just because they are younger. There's something called age discrimination, right? So if you're 40 and above, can't believe it, but 40 and above, I know, 40 and above, you are technically qualified under that particular law. So when HR should definitely, especially if you have HR within a company, that should be something that is an ongoing report that you're looking at, just to make sure that nothing is loose with that. Not just in terms of age, not just in terms of gender, but just making sure that it's also looking at it across industries, across race, especially as it relates to diversity and equity, especially. I mean, it all boils down to it for sure. Great question.
Great question. And you know, we talked a little bit about equity in the last conversation with the last guest. I think it's hard for business owners to think about equity at times because it forces them to go back to the root of how the company was formed. And most people don't fully, like you said, understand, you know, equity versus equality, right? And I used to be angry, and your husband probably can tell you about some of my grumpy days. I give an example of a situation of equality, right? So it's Valentine's Day. The boss makes these little packs of candy and they put the candy on everybody's desk. That's equality. Everybody got one. It was fair. Everybody got 3 pieces, 2 pieces with almonds, 2 pieces with peach, whatever. Everything is fair. It's across the board. However, the inequality in it, or the iniquity, so what's not in a sense of equity there for me is I'm allergic to nuts. And I'm allergic to peaches. So while everybody else got 5 pieces of candy that they can enjoy, I can't enjoy any of it. So instead of having the conversation about what each individual employee may need. Not what's fair across the board. We're just going to blanket and give everybody two and say we did our job and pat ourselves on the back. We have to look at what's in the system and the rooting of the business that creates systems and environments that have people in positions of inequity. That is a lot of times why it's so hard, because who wants to go back to the foundation of their business? They're trying to grow and meet more people and bring in new clients and make, benchmarks. And this chick can't have nuts. Oh, well. And then it becomes the employee's problem.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. So thank you. I mean, I just tip my hat to you. I mean, that's a little personal too, because I used to be mad, like, who want my little candy bag? But it's something so small.
Yeah.
Some that's huge to me, because now my morale is affected. And companies don't often understand that could be the disconnect. Right. And so anyway, I know it's key questions. Yes.
This is so perfect, isn't it? Because it's time for Kiana's key questions. So we have our timers here, and they're yellow to match our color scheme. And so we have 2 minutes. And so we're going to answer these questions. We kind of go back. You can go first, Henny, as our guest, and then, Tori and I will also answer. And so the first question, and the timer will start when I finish reading the question. When and how do you know you are in the right lane?
You know you're in the right lane when you wake up feeling blessed, and you're going to bed feeling blessed, and people notice that you are also in the right lane.
I love it.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm gonna say ditto to what she said. Go ahead, Key. I surrender my time.
You surrender your time. I'm gonna say the passion. And so when you are passionate and people, see the passion and you're talking about it, I just talked to a client over there, say, you're really passionate about what you do. I think that's when you know that you're in the right lane and people always get what they need from you.
All right, cool. Next question.
All right, next question.
I'm all excited.
I wish I had one now.
We'll tell you one.
What is one question you ask yourself before moving ahead with a new idea or offer?
God, is this your idea, or is this just a good idea?
My question is, are you going to want to do this on your period? I know it sounds so crazy, but I am my true self doing that 4 days of every month. Every 21 days, there's 4 days that I show myself who I really am. And so if it's something that I'm going to want to do in that space, then I move forward.
Yes. Ditto to Henny. That's definitely one of the questions I asked. But since you asked that, the next one I asked, does it align with my brand?
That's good. That's good. All right, come on, next question.
All right. And then the next one, this is the last one. What is a sign that you are getting off course? Because we're talking about direction now. So what is a sign that you are getting off course?
Well, yes. So what?
No, everybody that knows me knows that if I just get irritable with everybody and everything, and I'm naturally just not that way. So as soon as I start getting irritable, you know that something ain't right. I'm out of alignment for sure.
Mine is my insomnia, which I've been talking about a lot lately. God, he takes my rest. So
yeah. Mine is actually a combination of the two. Of the two of you, is just that the irritability, which leads to the insomnia, and then the up and say, okay, well then tell me, what am I doing wrong? What am I supposed to be doing? Yeah. I know I'm off course, then please send me in the right direction. So yeah. So with that, we are definitely, ladies, headed in the right direction. And is it very, very important to ask yourself these questions, so that you know that you are on course and you're headed in the right direction. And I mean, just the information that you've given us tonight, and hopefully it has given people the resources that they need, the tools that they need to make sure they're headed in the right direction. with their small business, especially in these times of COVID, or whether or not, hey, this unemployment and the stimulus checks and the stimmies, you can't live off of them forever. And so, to your point earlier, I know it feels like a break for some people, but if you are looking at long-term financial planning and, where you want to go in the future, you might, it's the time to really start looking. And I know, the free money might be nice, but you really want to make sure that you're not off course, that sitting at home collecting unemployment, is that putting you in the right lane? Is it, continue to let you head in the right direction? And of all things, contact Career Image Solutions.
Yes.
And they can help you head in the right direction that you want to go with your career.
Speaking of that, I'm going to list a few things. Tell me if this is what you guys specialize in. So yes or no. Recruiting candidates.
Yes.
All right. Hiring the right employees.
Yes.
Processing payroll.
Yes.
Conducting disciplinary actions.
Yes.
Updating policies.
Yes.
Maintaining good employee records.
Yes.
Awesome. And conducting benefit analysis.
Yes.
Awesome. See, look at that. Very easy. She does it all. They do it all. So guys,
it's not just me. Listen, I have got to give a shout out to our team, seriously, because we have an amazing team, and I'm always looking for some great HR people. So it's definitely not just me. I could not do this all alone.
That's no worries, honey. And give us some t-shirts too. We'll go around and
yes. Hashtag your favorite HR team, by the way. That's what our hashtag is.
Hashtag your favorite
HR
team. Oh, I love that. I want to be your favorite motivational speaker. I love that. Okay, so guys, listen, check the chat, check the comments. We'll also be tagging Henny. Get connected to this amazing Black-owned business that is going to help you be about your business. Even if you are an employee or going back into the work world and you have HR questions, if you are someone who currently is employed and maybe has COVID and you feel like, hey, my job said I would be covered in this way, but it doesn't look like it. Many of us, I'll go ahead and share this in 10 seconds. I'm actually on leave right now, because Baltimore City had some demands that I didn't feel were in alignment with my family, my morals, my life, my health. And so if you're working for Baltimore City Public Schools and you feel like, hey, they're asking me to do things and I'm just not fully confident or comfortable with it, or what does accommodations mean? What are my rights? Reach out and ask a professional. So don't ask me because I'm a rebel, but ask a professional who can help you maintain your job. So I am Tori Rose, the Connector. Please find me on Instagram and Facebook as Tori Rose, the Connector. Hannah, please tell us, how can we find you?
Yes, you can find me personally on Instagram as well as Facebook and on LinkedIn as Hannah Began. You can find Career Image Solutions on all three outlets as well. Career Image Solutions or hashtag your favorite HR team.
Oh, I love that. And Kiana, how can we find you?
You can find me across all social media platforms as Kiana B. Jones. I have to sing my last name. When it's so funny, when I was typing, I was like, oh, Henny is Hannah B. Yeah. Also too.
Henny B.
Henny B. I haven't made a transition yet, but I realized our name is also very close. In other ways. And so that'll be very interesting. Every time I'm ready to say it, I'll be like, oh, we got the same last name. Oh, no, we don't. Wait a minute. It's
almost.
Yeah, almost.
Now I gotta go get my last name fine-tuned. The middle initial gotta be a B. Y'all about to keep me up. Tori B single is what she be. There you go.
No, Tori, Kiana Henneth, she from B-More. That's
she from B-More. Hey, Tori B ghetto some days, but that's cool too. All right, guys, listen, this is an amazing show. Every time we're together with Henny, I just want to do a conference. Like, I know Kiki gets so irritated with me, like, yo, everything ain't gotta be a conference, but it does. Like, we need to just bring the peoples together. And so what we have seen in some of the work that I'm doing is not only the increase in unemployment rates, right? But what's going to happen post-COVID is this mad rush back into the work world, the workforce. And we see a depleted workforce in a way that if people are not careful, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be taking some years to get things back together. And so let's pray about it. Let's see if God can help us align a vision where we can actually be in position to help people transition. And if anybody is listening who's thinking like, maybe I should try to go back to work now, this might actually be a good time. Start applying. Perfect time. Start applying, start interviewing, because this rush is going to be like the gold rush.
Yep. Well, that's why I did it. Yeah. You know, I was in full-time entrepreneurship for the 3 years, and I was like, you know what? I don't have to ask to work from home now. You know, before at one point you couldn't. This is the perfect opportunity for me to go back to work. And you know, make that extra income, add that, you know, additional source of income, because a job is a stream of income. And so that was my, you know, decision to say, hey, this would be a great time to go back into finance and grant management. And so here we are. And I'm working from home.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
Get connected. So guys, it's been an amazing Tuesday. We are so excited. We're looking forward to being here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I want you guys to bring somebody with you. We're going to be talking to some amazing community leaders about things that they are doing, how they're connecting families directly to resources. And for those who may not be right in the groove of where they want to be, you want to be on the show watching with us to get these resources. So that's next Tuesday as we talk to some amazing community leaders. Henny, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, the Connect the Corner family. Thank you.
See y'all. And Henny, stay for 1 second because we do a thing we do after the show.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. God bless. Good night.